The world had shrunk to the sterile confines of my home and the cold, clinical walls of the oncology center. I was Sarah, 35, battling a relentless enemy within: cancer. The chemotherapy sessions were brutal, each one leaving me drained, nauseous, and utterly vulnerable. My husband, Mark, was my rock, or so I believed. He'd drive me to appointments, hold my hand during infusions, and listen patiently as I recounted the day's struggles. Yet, beneath the surface of his dutiful care, I sensed a subtle shift. His eyes, once so full of warmth, sometimes held a distant, almost detached look. His phone was an extension of his hand, always face down, always silenced. I dismissed it as stress, the burden of my illness weighing heavily on him. My days were a blur of fatigue and worry, punctuated by the metallic taste of medication. One dreary Tuesday, as a cold rain lashed against the window, I received an email from an unknown sender. The subject line was cryptic: regarding Mark. My heart pounded. Was it about his work? A family emergency? I opened it cautiously. The message was brief, unsigned, and unsettling. He's not who you think he is. Be careful. I stared at the words, my mind too clouded by chemo-induced fog to process them fully. Was it a prank? A wrong number? I shrugged it off, attributing it to the strange, unsettling side effects of my treatment. A few days later, a handwritten note appeared in our mailbox. No return address, just my name. Inside, a single sentence: ask him about Chloe. Chloe? The name meant nothing to me. I showed it to Mark, trying to sound casual. Did you know anyone named Chloe? I asked, my voice raspy. He glanced at the note, his face momentarily paling. Then he laughed, a little too loudly. Chloe. Never heard of her, babe. Probably some crazy ex from college trying to stir trouble. Don't worry about it. He crumpled the note and tossed it into the recycling bin, his dismissive gesture designed to quell any suspicion. I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. My world was already crumbling. I couldn't bear another fracture. But the seed of doubt had been planted. Mark's late nights became more frequent, his excuses more elaborate. Emergency at the office. Client dinner ran late. He'd come home smelling faintly of an unfamiliar perfume, a scent that was definitely not mine. The city outside, with its bustling streets and anonymous faces, seemed to hold secrets he was desperate to keep. I tried to push the thoughts away, to focus on my recovery, on the fight for my life. How could I accuse him when he was supposedly my sole support? The guilt of even suspecting him felt like another burden on my already fragile shoulders. One evening, as I lay awake, the dull ache in my bones mirroring the growing ache in my heart, I heard Mark's phone vibrate from the nightstand. He was in the bathroom. Curiosity, a desperate, gnawing need for answers, overcame my exhaustion. I reached for it, my fingers trembling. The screen lit up with a message notification. A name I didn't recognize. Chloe. The message itself was short, chilling. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Missing you already, my love. My breath hitched. The world spun. The sterile quiet of our bedroom suddenly felt like a tomb, burying the last vestiges of my trust. The chemotherapy was attacking my body, but Mark's betrayal was attacking my soul, leaving me more broken than any illness ever could. Chapter 2. The Bitter Pill. The message from Chloe was a punch to the gut, far more debilitating than any side effect of my chemotherapy. My husband, Mark, the man who vowed to stand by me through sickness and health, was having an affair. The knowledge settled in my chest like a block of ice, chilling me to the bone. Every kind word, every tender touch from him now felt like a cruel deception. I was Sarah, a woman battling for her life, only to discover her greatest support was also her biggest betrayer. I confronted him the next morning. My voice, weak from illness, was surprisingly steady. "Who is Chloe, Mark?" I asked, holding up his phone with the incriminating message. His face drained of color. He stammered, denied, then finally his shoulders slumped. It's complicated, Sarah. It doesn't mean anything." The usual excuses, hollow and meaningless. He confessed vaguely to an emotional affair, downplaying it, blaming the stress of my illness, trying to paint himself as a victim of circumstance. But the cold, hard truth was undeniable. He had chosen to seek comfort elsewhere while I was fighting for my life. The revelation left me shattered. My already fragile body felt even weaker. But a new kind of strength, born of anger and profound disappointment, began to stir within me. My best friend, Emily, was my lifeline. She listened patiently, her eyes filled with a mixture of rage and sorrow for me. "He's a monster, Sarah," she declared, holding my hand tightly. "You deserve so much more." The chemotherapy sessions continued, but now they were accompanied by a different kind of pain, the searing agony of betrayal. I went through the motions, letting the nurses administer the drugs, but my mind was consumed by Mark's deceit. The city outside, once a vibrant backdrop to our life, now seemed to mock me with its indifferent normalcy. A few days later, while Mark was at work, or so he claimed, my phone rang. An unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. "Sarah, this is Chloe." My heart leaped into my throat. The voice was soft, hesitant, laced with an unexpected tremor. I know this is incredibly difficult, but I need to talk to you. I'm so sorry." I was speechless, my mind racing. Why was she contacting me? Was this some cruel twist? "Why?" I managed to whisper, my voice barely audible. "Because Mark lied to me too," Chloe said, her voice cracking. "He told me that your marriage was over, that you were already separated. He said you were just roommates because of your illness, that you were both moving on. He made it sound like he was trapped, but trying to do the right thing by you during your treatment. I believed him. I swear I had no idea you were still together, that you were so sick. When I found out, when I saw him holding your hand in the hospital parking lot last week, I knew he was lying to both of us." Her words hit me with a new wave of shock. Mark hadn't just betrayed me. He had manipulated Chloe too. The email, the note, it was her. She had been trying to warn me, trying to break through his web of lies. A strange, complex mix of emotions washed over me. Anger at Mark, but also a flicker of understanding, even a twisted empathy for Chloe. She was a victim of his deceit, just like me. "I tried to tell you," Chloe continued, her voice filled with remorse. "I sent an email, a note. I felt so guilty. I couldn't be part of this lie anymore. He's a master manipulator, Sarah. You need to know the truth, all of it." She offered to meet, to show me proof. My mind, though weary, was suddenly clear. This wasn't just about a husband's infidelity anymore. This was about a calculated deception, a man who had used my illness as a shield for his lies, hurting everyone in his path. The bitter pill of betrayal was hard to swallow, but the unexpected revelation from Chloe offered a strange, new path forward, a chance to reclaim my narrative, not just from Mark, but from the illness itself. Chapter 3. An Unlikely Alliance. The meeting with Chloe was surreal. We met at a quiet cafe, a neutral territory far from the sterile hospital and the suffocating atmosphere of my home. I was Sarah, still frail from chemotherapy, but now armed with a chilling clarity. Chloe, a woman in her early 30s, looked genuinely distraught. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her hands trembling as she laid out a series of text messages, emails, and even a few photos. "He told me you were emotionally distant," Chloe explained, her voice barely above a whisper. "That you had drifted apart years ago." He said he was staying for appearances, for your family because of your illness, but that your marriage was essentially over. He even showed me old photos of you two, saying they were from happier times that were long gone. She pointed to a text from Mark, sent just days before my last chemo session. Can't wait for this to be over. Soon we can be free. My stomach churned. The depth of his manipulation was staggering. He had painted me as the cold, distant wife, using my illness as a convenient excuse for his emotional unavailability and his desire to escape. Chloe, it seemed, was genuinely remorseful, a pawn in Mark's cruel game. I swear, Sarah, she said, tears welling in her eyes. If I had known, I would never have gotten involved. I thought I was helping a man escape an unhappy situation. The anger I had felt towards her dissipated, replaced by a shared sense of betrayal, a strange, unexpected bond. Thank you, Chloe, I said, my voice hoarse. Thank you for telling me. She hesitated, then pushed a small, discreetly wrapped package across the table. There's more, she whispered. He's been embezzling from his company. Small amounts at first, then larger. He told me it was bonuses he couldn't declare. I found this in his briefcase when he stayed over. It's a flash drive. It looks like a backup of his work files, but there's a hidden folder. I think it's proof. My mind reeled. Embezzlement? Mark wasn't just a cheat. He was a criminal. This changed everything. It wasn't just about a divorce anymore. It was about justice. The city outside, once a symbol of my confinement, now felt like a stage for the unfolding drama. I returned home, the flash drive clutched in my hand, my resolve hardening with every step. Mark was there, acting as if nothing had happened, asking about my chemo. His facade was sickening. I excused myself, went to my study, and inserted the flash drive into my laptop. It took some searching, but I found the hidden folder. It contained spreadsheets, bank transfers, and incriminating emails. Proof of his illicit activities, meticulously documented. He had been planning his escape, his new life with Chloe, funded by stolen money. The next day, I called my lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Ms. Davies. I laid out everything: Mark's affair, Chloe's testimony, and the evidence of embezzlement. Ms. Davies listened, her expression grim. This is significant, Sarah, she said, her voice firm. This moves beyond a simple divorce. This is fraud, and it gives us immense leverage. The air in the room felt charged, heavy with the weight of impending confrontation. Mark was still oblivious, still playing the role of the caring husband. But the game was about to change. I was no longer just a cancer patient, a betrayed wife. I was a survivor, a strategist, and I had an unlikely ally in Chloe. The battle was far from over, but for the first time in a long time, I felt a surge of power, a fierce determination to reclaim my life and ensure Mark faced the full consequences of his actions. Chapter 4. Reclaiming my life. The confrontation with Mark was swift and brutal. With Ms. Davies by my side, I presented him with the divorce papers and the undeniable evidence of his affair, and, more damningly, the embezzlement. His face, usually so composed, crumpled in shock and disbelief. "What is this, Sarah? What are you talking about?" he stammered, trying to maintain his facade. But the game was up. "It's over, Mark," I said, my voice steady, devoid of the weakness that had plagued me for months. And Chloe told me everything, including the embezzlement. His eyes widened in panic. He tried to deny it, to manipulate, to beg, but Ms. Davies calmly laid out the evidence, piece by damning piece. He was trapped. The legal proceedings that followed were difficult, but I faced them with a strength I never knew I possessed. Mark's attempts to countersue or discredit me failed miserably. Chloe, true to her word, provided testimony that corroborated my claims, painting a clear picture of Mark's deceit and manipulation towards both of us. The evidence of embezzlement was irrefutable, leading to a separate investigation by his company and eventually legal charges. Mark lost his job, his reputation, and faced severe financial and legal repercussions. The city, once his playground for deceit, became a witness to his downfall. As for me, Sarah, my journey of healing continued. The chemotherapy treatments were finally over, leaving me weak but victorious in that battle. The emotional wounds, however, were deeper. I moved out of the house Mark and I had shared, finding a smaller, sunnier apartment that felt like a true fresh start. Emily was a constant source of support, celebrating every small victory with me. Chloe and I maintained a strange, cautious connection. We weren't friends in the traditional sense, but there was a mutual respect, a shared understanding of Mark's deceit. She apologized again, genuinely, for her part in the affair, and I, in turn, acknowledged her courage in coming forward. It was an unlikely alliance born of shared pain, but it provided a unique closure. Months passed. My hair began to grow back, a soft, hopeful fuzz. My energy slowly returned. I started painting again, a hobby I had abandoned years ago. Each brushstroke was a step towards reclaiming my identity, shedding the labels of cancer patient and betrayed wife. I wasn't defined by my illness or my husband's actions. I was defined by my resilience, my capacity for forgiveness, not for Mark, but for myself, and my unwavering will to live. One crisp autumn morning, as I walked through a park, feeling the cool breeze on my face, I saw a couple laughing, holding hands. A pang of sadness, a fleeting memory of what I thought I had, passed through me. But it was quickly replaced by a profound sense of peace. I had faced death, endured betrayal, and emerged stronger, wiser, and undeniably free. Mark had no idea that his mistress would contact me first, that her guilt would become my greatest weapon. And in his ignorance, he had unknowingly paved the way for my complete liberation, allowing me to rebuild my life, brick by painful, beautiful brick.